1947 was one of the best years in Metropolitan's history. The company's financial position was excellent. More Metropolitan policyholders than ever before enjoyed the blessings of life insurance. Through investments, the company played a bigger role than in any preceding year in helping keep the wheels of industry turning, provide jobs and homes, and maintain high standards of living. Our program of health education was expanded, helping more people to keep well, to live longer, happier lives. The death rate among policyholders in 1947 hit an all-time low. However, the year was not without its problems. Insurance costs were higher because of lower interest rates and because of the prevalent increase in the cost of goods and services. In 1947, Metropolitan's payments to policyholders and their beneficiaries, shown by the bar at the extreme right of the chart, topped all previous records. Payments totaled $671 million, $41,500,000 more than in 1946, and a gain of $138 million over the figure 5 years ago in 1942. In the past 10 years, the company's payments to policyholders and beneficiaries totaled $5,900 million, a lot of money that went to a lot of people all over the United States and Canada. The blue columns at the left show the amounts paid in death and double indemnity claims from 1930 through 1947. Last year, such payments totaled $243 million. Money that helped lighten financial burdens, gave hope for the future, helped keep many homes together, and fulfill plans and ambitions for loved ones. The remainder of the 1947 payments to policyholders, about twice as much as was paid out in death benefits, went to living policyholders. Incidentally, you might be amused to note that all these checks are signed by two names, Washington and Lincoln. I assure you this is purely coincidental. These payments, amounting to $428 million, served a countless variety of needs. For example, they include $127 million in matured endowments, funds which help many young men and women get a college education, provide others with business capital, help in buying homes and meeting other vital needs. The $73,700,000 paid last year in cash values of policies helped supply immediate funds to many families who, for one reason or another, cashed in their policies. There was a great difference between the volume of surrender value payments in 1947 as compared with those of 1933. While our insurance in force in 1947 was over twice as great as in 1933, the surrender payments amounted to less than 1/3 as much. The upward trend in dividends paid to Metropolitan policyholders over the years reflects a growth in the amount of business and not increased scales of dividends. Actually, during the period covered by the chart, dividend scales have been reduced and are being reduced in 1948, primarily as a result of declining interest returns on investments. During 1947, $148 million were paid or credited to policyholders in dividends, thus, of course, decreasing by that amount the cost of their insurance protection as represented by their premium payments. Nearly $80 million went for sickness and accident benefits, annuity payments which help policyholders enjoy the sunset years of life, and other payments to policyholders and their beneficiaries. While the $671 million Metropolitan paid out last year brought security and lessened worry for thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, it represented only a part of the company's responsibility to its policyholders and beneficiaries. Each year, the company must set aside sufficient funds called reserves, which, increased by interest earnings and future premiums, will enable it to pay all obligations under policies that will fall due in the years to come. The law recognizes the necessity of such reserves and requires that they be maintained. These reserves, plus funds in process of payment to policyholders and beneficiaries, together with miscellaneous liabilities, constitute the company's total obligations, about $8.049 billion as of December 31st, 1947. To meet these obligations, Metropolitan's assets at the close of the year amounted to $8.548 billion, an increase of about $503 million during 1947. It is then seen that the assets exceed all liabilities by $499 million. This is a safety fund, which is available to meet unforeseeable contingencies, such as the epidemic we had in 1918-19, or stormy economic weather, such as the Depression in the 30s. Metropolitan's asset dollars are kept busily at work in sound investments. However, these are trust funds, and the company's first consideration must be safety of principal. As a result, we do not put money into investments of a speculative nature, such as common stocks, for example. But while Metropolitan's dollars are working for policyholders, they are benefiting all of us, helping provide jobs and the goods and services we all need and want. At the close of 1947, the biggest share of the company's investments was in United States and Canadian government bonds, a total of about $3.8 billion, accounted for by the heavy purchases made during the war years. Since the close of the war, Metropolitan's new investments have gone increasingly to help meet the needs of industry and the community, just as they were doing before the war. Over the years, Metropolitan has helped provide productive enterprises with tools and facilities through the investment of the company's funds. Last year, we put $958 million into such investments, refunding operations and the purchase of securities which had been issued in preceding years. At the end of 1947, more than $2.6 billion were helping in the expansion and further development or maintenance of productive techniques and enterprises. Few policyholders realize that each of the tens of thousands of concerns or individuals using Metropolitan's invested funds are really working for them. The interest the borrowers pay on the money is helping to reduce the cost of insurance to all policyholders. Without it, premiums would have to be substantially higher. The company's dollars are at work in practically every phase of production and distribution, helping to produce more goods and create more jobs for more people. In concerns like these, for example, in which the company made investments in 1947. Some of the plants in which Metropolitan made investments last year to help furnish power, light, and heat to meet the nation's needs. Electricity, natural and artificial gas, the telephone, and other utilities have played an important part in our industrial progress. The company's total investment in utilities amounted to $999 million at the end of the year. At the close of 1947, more than $538 million of Metropolitan assets were helping in the vital task of transporting passengers and bringing the necessities of life from mines, farms, forests, and factories to people throughout the United States and Canada. During 1947, the company continued to help meet the national need for housing, for individuals and for business and industry. Mortgage loans made last year on city and farm properties totaled more than $221 million, bringing the total outstanding at the year's close to more than $964 million. Of this amount, $878 million was in city properties and $86 million in farm properties. During the Depression years, the Metropolitan, like other financial institutions, was forced to take over a large number of properties to safeguard its investment, which had been made for the benefit of policyholders. Note on the chart the peak in 1935, when the company was the involuntary owner of 20,729 city properties and 6,528 farms. Many of these properties were in a rundown condition, producing little or no income. To meet the situation, Metropolitan undertook a broad program of rehabilitation. Buildings, lands, and equipment were put on an income-producing basis and in saleable condition. This program had a stabilizing influence in many communities and was widely acclaimed. As the program progressed, properties were disposed of as rapidly as possible, and in 1947, the last of the 10,414 farms which had been acquired as a result of the Depression was sold. City properties unsold at the end of the year numbered only 42. In the midst of a previous housing shortage in 1922, Metropolitan undertook, on an experimental basis, its first housing project in the borough of Queens, New York City. With the background of this experience, the company in 1939 started construction of Parkchester in New York City, the largest housing project ever built in the United States. This was followed by another project, Park Fairfax, just outside of Washington, D.C., which helped meet an acute wartime housing shortage in the nation's capital. Still other projects, Park Merced in San Francisco, Park La Brea in Los Angeles also helped meet wartime housing needs. In 1943, the company turned its attention to providing low-cost, modern housing in a blighted area in the heart of New York City, an area known as the Gas House District. As these views show, many of the dwellings here were 75 years old or more. There were no parks or playgrounds, and children found their recreation in the streets. Most of the dwellings were small, dark flats without windows in the bedrooms. closets for clothes, and grossly inadequate in sanitary facilities and other modern necessities. As soon as the families who lived in this section were relocated, demolition began. It is interesting to note how this was accomplished. For example, a 2,000-pound steel ball helped reduce the row-on-row tenement houses to rubble. Out of this rubble grew Stuyvesant Town, a group of modern apartment buildings. The grounds will be artistically landscaped with plenty of parks and recreational areas, as in Metropolitan's other modern housing projects. When the project is fully completed, 8,755 families will find here attractive, comfortable homes with a maximum of sunlight and air and at moderate rentals. 2 other new metropolitan housing projects in New York City, Peter Cooper Village and Riverton, have also received their first tenants. Housing, as instituted and developed by the genius of the chairman of the Metropolitan's Board of Directors, Frederick H. Eckert, has proved to be a sound and satisfactory form of investment, as well as an important social contribution. With the completion of present projects, the company will have an investment in housing of about $300 million and a total of more than 130,000 people will be housed in attractive, modern, metropolitan apartments. As everyone knows, the interest rates that can be earned on invested funds have declined steadily over a period of years. In the late 1920s, Metropolitan earned an average net interest return of more than 5%. Since then, following the general trend, interest rates on the company's investments have dropped to substantially lower levels. During 1947, the average net interest earned was 2.94%, compared with 3.01% in 1946. It is encouraging to note that the average rate of interest at which new investments in securities were made, for the first time in recent years, turned slightly upward during the last part of 1947. It is entirely possible that the low point has now been passed, and a gradual improvement in the overall interest earnings may be forthcoming. Interest earnings last year contributed more than $234 million to the company's income. But if the rate of interest earned in 1929 had prevailed last year, our income in 1947 would have been about $180 million greater, and this would have greatly increased the amount available for dividends. Metropolitan's income is received from 2 sources. First, premiums and other payments from policyholders, and second, earnings on investments. In 1947, the company's income amounted to nearly $1.4 billion. Out of this income, more than $1.160 billion came from policyholders, and about $235 million from earnings on the company's investments. As compared with this income, more than $671 million were paid to policyholders and beneficiaries, and more than $473 million were set aside for future obligations. Thus, a total of $1.150 billion were paid or set aside for the benefit of policyholders and beneficiaries, including about $5 million for health and welfare. The balance, $247 million, went for taxes, asset adjustment, and the expense of doing business. Taxes took about $22.5 million, asset adjustments about $20 million, and the remainder, more than $204 million, was used to provide the necessary services which metropolitan policyholders expect and to which they are entitled.